I still can't sleep without a light on. People think that's a joke when I say it. I'm almost 30. I look normal enough. I have a job. I can hold eye contact and talk about the weather and sports. You wouldn't look at me and think, this guy is scared of the dark. But I am. I don't mean that in the cute way, like kids being afraid of monsters under the bed. I mean it in the way where I plan every move I make at night. I never walk into a room without flicking the switch first. I don't reach into closets if the bulb is burned out. I don't go down stairwells unless I can see every step. If the power goes out, I don't go check the fuse box. I sit down on the floor, press my back against a wall, and wait for the sun. I didn't used to be like this. I grew up in a small town that was just big enough to have a main street, 3 bars, and this ugly concrete skeleton of an office building that was never finished. The company that started building it went bankrupt halfway through. So for as long as I can remember, we had this gray block of exposed floors and rebar at the edge of town. No windows, no doors, just gaps and stairwells. We called it the Frame. They fenced it off, of course. That didn't stop us. You know how it is in quiet towns. You find your fun where you can. For us, when we were teenagers, that was sneaking into the Frame at night. You could see it from my bedroom window if you leaned a little to the left. Past the empty lot, past the half-dead trees. It stood there like a big outline somebody forgot to finish coloring in. My mom used to say it looked lonely. My dad said it looked like an insurance nightmare. We said it looked like freedom. There were 4 of us that night. Me, my best friend Jamie, his cousin Mark, and a girl named Tessa, who went to another school but hung around with us anyway because she was bored and we had a car. This was years ago, long before I learned what lives in the dark. It started like every other dumb idea we'd had. We were parked behind the grocery store where nobody bothered to check, windows cracked for the cigarette smoke. Jamie was in the driver's seat, tapping the steering wheel with one hand. Mark was in the back with me, stretched out with his boots on the floor and his head against the glass. Tessa sat behind Jamie, legs like a pile of sticks, knees knocked together, black nail polish chipped to hell. Someone had brought cheap beer. I think it was Mark. I never liked the taste, but I drank anyway because that's what you did. "Let's go up," Jamie said. "Top floor. You can see the whole town at night. It'll be sick." "We'll get arrested," I said. Tessa cracked a grin. "You're scared?" I wasn't scared. Not then. I'd been inside the Frame 3 times already, all during the day, all with Jamie. We'd walked through the hollow rooms and kicked pieces of wood and broken tile around, yelling just to hear the echoes. It had been boring, honestly. Just concrete and dust. "At night's a whole different thing," Mark said. "I heard some senior fell down the stairs there last year. Broke both legs." "That was the quarry," Jamie said. "Different idiot." "Still," I said. "It's dark as hell in there. There are holes in the floors. You fall, nobody's gonna find you until morning." "Not if we bring flashlights," Jamie said. He twisted in his seat and looked at me, eyes bright in the dim interior of the car. Jamie always had that look when he was about to talk you into something. Not mean, not pushy, just this quiet excitement, like he was letting you in on something important. "Come on," he said. "We've been talking about doing it for weeks. Top floor, middle of the night, town lights, beers. It'll be our thing." a story to tell. Tessa chimed in. I've never been. I want to see it. The truth is, I didn't want to be the one who said no. That's really all it was. Not bravery or stupidity or some deep need to prove myself. I just didn't want to be the only one sitting in the car while the others had a story I wasn't part of. Fine, I said, and finished the warm beer in my hand. Let's go. It was colder than I expected when we got out. The grocery store's back lot was mostly empty. A couple of trucks sat near the loading bay, hulking shapes in the dark. The frame rose up beyond them, black against the lighter sky. The town's streetlights didn't quite reach it, so it was mostly a silhouette, a big rectangle of nothing. We walked along the chain-link fence until Mark found the spot where someone had cut it months ago. It was half-heartedly twisted back together, but all you had to do was push and slip through. Ladies first, Mark said, squeezing the metal apart with a squeal. Tessa rolled her eyes and ducked through. I followed, catching my jacket on a piece of bent wire. For a second, I felt it tug at me, and something in my stomach tightened. But then it let go, and I was inside the fence, standing on dirt and broken concrete. Jamie and Mark came through behind me. Flashlights, Jamie said. We pulled out our phones and turned the screens as bright as they would go. Back then, phone flashlights weren't as strong as now, just small cones of cold white. This is so stupid, I muttered, but it came out more playful than serious. We walked toward the building. I remember that my breath fogged in front of me. I remember the slight crunch of gravel under my shoes, the empty sound of the lot around us. Behind us, the town was still alive. Distant cars, a bar door opening and closing with a burst of music. But it already felt far away. The frame loomed higher as we approached. Up close, it looked worse. The concrete was stained and streaked, patches of rebar poking out like rusted bones. There were no real doors, just open rectangular gaps where doors would have been. They should tear this down, Tessa said quietly. Too expensive, Jamie answered. My dad says they'd have to bring in a whole crew, cranes, all that. Town doesn't want to pay. So they just leave it? She asked. Guess so. We reached the ground floor opening and stopped. A slab of darkness waited inside. Our phone lights didn't reach far, just showed a few feet of cracked floor and a pillar. After you, Jamie said to me, smiling. I stepped inside. The temperature dropped another few degrees. The air smelled different too, less like outdoors, more like dust and something damp and stale. A faint echo of our footsteps bounced off unseen walls. I played my light around. Empty room. Pillars. Trash in the corners. Graffiti on the far wall. Nothing special. See? I said. Not a big deal. Jamie walked in next. Then Mark and Tessa. We stood there for a second, lights crisscrossing. Stairs are over there, Jamie said, pointing. The stairwell was the only part of the structure that felt tight. Thick concrete walls, a narrow space. There was no railing yet, just a low lip beside the steps, and then open shaft. If you leaned over, you could see down into the darkness. I didn't lean over. We're going all the way up? Mark asked. Top floor or we're pussies, Jamie said. We started to climb. The first few floors were nothing, just the steady rhythm of shoes on concrete, our lights bouncing ahead of us, our breathing a little louder than it needed to be. We talked at first. Stupid stuff. Who was hooking up with who? Which teacher was a creep? Whether we'd ever get out of this town. The sound of our voices made the stairwell feel less like a throat and more like a hallway. Then we got higher, and the talking stopped. The ground floor had felt like a big empty room. The higher we went, the more it felt like we were leaving the world. The street sounds faded. The thin strip of sky visible through the stairwell's open side grew smaller, then disappeared when we passed a section with solid walls. The air felt heavier. My legs started to burn a little. The beer in my stomach sloshed around. "Which floor is this?" Tessa asked. "No idea," Jamie said. "There were supposed to be 9, I think." We kept going. At some point I realized I couldn't see the bottom anymore if I glanced down. Just darkness. I forced myself not to think about how high we were. I focused on each step. One, then the next. Our lights only reached so far. The stairs above us were always vanishing into shadow. The stairs below us did the same. "Hey," Mark said after a while. "Did you hear that?" We froze. My first thought was that a security guard had finally decided to do their job. My second thought was that it was just the building shifting, cooling in the night. "What?" I asked. "Sounded like singing," Mark said. I listened. Nothing. "You're drunk," Jamie said. "Come on." We climbed another flight. That was when I saw something move above us. Just a flicker, like a shadow slipped out of the way before my light could catch it. A shape that hadn't been there the second before. I stopped mid-step. "Wait," I said. Jamie almost bumped into me. "What?" "I thought I saw someone." "Security?" Tessa asked. "I don't know," I said. "Up there. Just something moved." Jamie tilted his head back and shone his phone up the stairs. The weak circle of light slid over concrete, then disappeared into black. "Hello?" he called. His voice went up and up and up. No answer. "Probably a bird or something," he said. "Maybe a bat. Don't be a baby." He started walking again before I could say anything. Mark followed. Tessa hesitated, looking at me. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I lied. "Let's just keep going." I told myself it was nothing, just my brain playing tricks. Shadows look like they move all the time when your light is crappy and you're anxious. But my skin was tight, like all my hairs were trying to stand up at once. We reached the top floor sooner than I expected. The stairs ended at a wide opening. Beyond it was a big slab of space, open on 3 sides, only waist-high concrete at the edges. The town stretched out below us, little islands of orange streetlights floating in the dark. "Hell yeah," Jamie said. He walked out into the open and raised his arms like he was presenting the view. Tessa followed, whistling softly. "It's actually kind of nice," she said. Mark and I stepped out last. I won't lie. For a moment I forgot the unease. The town really did look different from up there. Smaller, softer. The grocery store's bright lot looked like a stage. The bar lights clustered like fireflies. The highway beyond glowed faintly. "Here," Jamie said, dropping down to sit on the low wall at the edge. "Beers." We passed them around. Someone put a phone down on speaker and played music. low enough that it blended with the faint hum of the town. For a while it was almost peaceful. We talked again, about nothing. We joked about throwing stuff off the side, then decided that was a good way to get sued. At some point, Tessa shivered. "Cold?" I asked. "Yeah," she said. "And I don't know. It feels weird up here." "It's fine," Jamie said. "You're just not used to it." He said that, but I saw him glance back toward the stairwell opening. The darkness there felt different than the darkness around us. The sky was a deep blue-black, the town a wash of orange, the lot below a harsh white. But the stairwell was just black, no depth, no color, like the world stopped there. "You guys want another round?" Mark asked. I shook my head. My stomach was already sour. Tessa passed. Jamie said sure. Mark got up and walked toward the stairwell. "Where are you going?" I asked. "Left the bag one floor down," he said. "Didn't want to haul it up all these stairs." "I'll go with you," Jamie said. They disappeared into the stairwell together, lights bobbing. That left me and Tessa alone at the top. The town buzzed quietly below us. A train horn sounded faintly in the distance, followed by the dull rattle of cars on tracks. I realized my hands were cold. I shoved them into my jacket pockets. "Why do you hang out with them?" Tessa asked suddenly. It was such an odd question I laughed. "What do you mean?" "Jamie, I get. He's your best friend. But Mark's kind of an asshole." I shrugged. "He's just Mark. He's always been like that." "That's not an answer," she said. I didn't know how to answer. It was true. Jamie and I had known each other since we were little. Mark had always been around, the cousin who tagged along, the one who pushed things just a little too far, who laughed when someone got hurt. It was easier to keep him in the group than to shut him out and deal with the fallout. "I guess I just don't think about it," I said. Tessa hummed softly and swung her legs. The stairwell behind us stayed black. I checked my phone. No signal at that height, apparently. The time meant nothing, just numbers slipping past. The battery icon was lower than I liked. "How long have they been gone?" Tessa asked. I listened. I couldn't hear their voices, couldn't hear footsteps, just the distant town and the breeze brushing the exposed concrete. "Not that long," I said, though it felt like longer. "You should go check," she said. "Me?" "Yes, you," she said, smiling a little. "I'll stay here and hold the fort." I didn't want to, but she was right. If something had happened, if Mark had tripped or Jamie had twisted an ankle, we couldn't just sit. "Okay," I said. "I'll be back in a sec." I got up and walked toward the stairwell. The opening loomed in front of me. My light fell into it and seemed to be swallowed after a few steps. "Jamie?" I called. "Mark?" No answer. I stepped inside. The stairwell felt different going down. Going up, it had been effort and anticipation. Going down, it felt like squeezing into something, like the concrete was closer than before. My footsteps sounded too loud. My breathing sounded too loud. The little halo of light around my feet was all I had. "Jamie?" I tried again. "Quit messing around." I reached the next landing and shone my light around. Empty. Guys? The next set of stairs dropped away into the dark. I couldn't see the bottom. I took a breath and went down them. I started counting floors in my head. We'd stopped somewhere around the 7th on the way up, I thought, to take a break and leave the bag. Or was it the 6th? It all blurred. My chest felt tight. I passed one landing, then another. My light caught a crushed beer can on the floor. I bent to pick it up, annoyed at Mark for being lazy even now. It wasn't the right brand, just some old trash. I dropped it. Seriously, this isn't funny, I said, voice shaking now. Where are you? Nothing. I went down another flight, then another. The silence pressed harder. The darkness below me felt like a physical thing, waiting. My brain started playing tricks. I heard scraps of sound, something that might have been a footstep, a breath, a whispered word. But every time I stopped, it wasn't there. I reached a landing and realized I was sweating despite the cold. That was when I heard it. Not a trick this time. Not my imagination. A voice from below me. Easy there, friend. The words were clear, shaped, almost gentle. They floated up through the dark like warm air. I froze. It was a man's voice, I thought. Or something close. Maybe older, maybe not. It was hard to tell with how soft it was. My first thought was security. Hey, I called, throat dry. Sorry, we're leaving. No rush, the voice said. You're not in any trouble with me. There was something strange about the way he talked. The tone was soft, almost soothing, like the way nurses talk to nervous patients. But there was a tightness behind it, something that made my stomach twist. Have you seen my friends? I asked. 2 guys. They went down to get a bag. They should have come back up by now. A pause. Yes, the voice said. I've seen them. My hand clenched around my phone. Are they okay? The soft laughter that drifted up didn't sound cruel. That made it worse. They were, the voice said. For a while. Something moved below me. I couldn't see it clearly. Just a shifting in the dark, a pale suggestion of shape beyond the reach of my light. Every instinct I had screamed at me to run, to bolt back up the stairs, into the open air, grab Tessa, and get out. But my feet didn't move. I licked my lips, tasted dust. Who were you? I asked. Another pause. Just a man, he said. Just a man in a hat. I swallowed. Do you live here? My brain was grabbing at anything. Are you homeless or something? We're not trying to bother you. We'll go. Very considerate, he said. But I insist. Come down and say hello properly. It's rude to shout like this. His words were so calm, like this was all normal, like we were meeting at a bus stop. I lifted my phone higher, trying to push the light down into the dark. It caught something. A brim. Just for a second, my light brushed over the edge of a hat. Not a baseball cap. Something wider, older. It shaded what was underneath. Below that, the faint impression of a face and arms. They were wrong. My brain didn't understand what I was looking at first. I saw hands, big, wide hands with long fingers, pale, almost gray, but they hung too low. They seemed to dangle closer to the steps than they should have, like someone was bending down to reach for something. Then my focus shifted and I realized he was standing upright. His arms were just that long. Thin, too. Long, thin arms, like someone had stretched them. The sleeves of his coat, or shirt, or whatever he was wearing, hung loose around them. His legs, what I could see of them, were also elongated, like he'd been pulled from the top and bottom. The proportions were all off, but he still moved like a person. That was the worst part. There was a smoothness to his posture, a casual bend of the knee, a tilt of the head. I jerked my light away without meaning to. The darkness swallowed him again. "That's better," he said. "I don't like being stared at." My thoughts scattered. Somewhere above me, Tessa was alone on the top floor. Somewhere below me, this thing stood between me and the exit. "Where are my friends?" I asked. My voice trembled. "Closer than you think," he said, "and quite far at the same time." "Are they hurt?" A gentle hum. "You ask so many questions," he said. "You must be frightened." I didn't answer. "It's all right," he went on. "Everyone is frightened in the dark. It's just honest." He took a step up. I didn't see it, but I heard it. The soft scrape of a shoe, the whisper of cloth, the slight shift in the air, like the darkness itself was getting closer. Something in me snapped. I turned and fled up the stairs. I've never run like that before. My feet barely felt the steps. I grabbed the wall with one hand, pulling myself along, phone clenched in the other. My light swung wildly, throwing broken shapes against the concrete. Behind me, the man laughed. Again, it wasn't cruel. It sounded almost proud. "There you go," he called. "That's more like it." Another step, another. I didn't know how many floors I'd gone up. My lungs burned. "Jamie," I shouted. "Tessa!" My voice cracked. I risked a glance back. For a moment I thought I'd outrun him. There was only darkness below. Then my light caught something pale on the wall. A hand. It rested flat against the concrete, fingers spread wide. Each finger was as long as my whole palm. The hand was attached to an arm that reached up and up from below, the elbow somewhere I couldn't quite see. He was using his arms to pull himself faster. I saw the hand flex, the fingers curl just enough to dig into tiny imperfections in the wall. The arm tightened. Concrete dust sprinkled down. He was climbing like a spider. I screamed. I don't remember making the decision. I just did it. The sound tore out of me, raw and high. Above me, the faint rectangle of the top floor's opening appeared. "Tessa!" I yelled again. "Run!" I burst out onto the top floor, stumbling. The flat open space hit me like cold air. My light flipped over the low wall, over the town, over empty concrete. Tessa. She wasn't there. For a second I thought she was hiding. Maybe she'd crouched down behind something as a joke, Then I saw her phone lying near the edge, screen up, flashlight still on. It cast a weak circle of light on the concrete. There was a smear next to it. Not large, not dramatic. Just a dark streak, glistening slightly, leading toward the stairwell. My brain refused to put meaning to it. "Don't look away from me," the voice said. It came from the opening behind me. I turned slowly. He stood in the stairwell entrance. He was taller than I'd thought. The hat almost brushed the concrete above the opening. It was an old-fashioned thing, with a soft brim and a shallow crown, like something you'd see in a black and white movie. Beneath it, his face was close enough to human to be worse. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth. The features were slightly stretched, like the rest of him, but not grotesque. If you saw him far away on a street, in daylight, you might not notice anything wrong until he got near. Up close, the wrongness screamed. His skin looked gray in my light, but it might have just been the darkness. His eyes were deep set, shadowed by the hat. His mouth was small and neat. He smiled at me. It was a nice smile. Friendly. The kind of smile a teacher might give a nervous student. His arms hung at his sides. The sleeves of his coat, long, dark, something like a trench coat but thinner, draped loosely. His hands were enormous, fingers splayed slightly. I saw small smears of dark on them. Blood, my brain finally supplied. I swallowed bile. "Where is she?" I asked. He tilted his head. "Such loyalty," he said. "It's sweet." He took a step forward. I backed up. "Stay away from me," I whispered. "Or what?" he asked, still in that calm tone. "You'll shine your little light at me? You'll shout? No, you'll run. They always run." I thought about bolting around him, throwing myself down the stairs, but he was standing just enough in the way that I knew he could grab me. Those long arms could sweep out and catch me before I got 2 steps. "Please," I said. "Please just let us go. We won't tell anyone. We'll never come back." "You say us," he said, "but there's only you now." My legs shook. "What did you do?" I whispered. He sighed, almost sadly. "They all ask that," he said, as if the details would help. He lifted one hand. It rose slowly, like he was being careful not to startle me. The fingers extended, palm facing me. When he opened it fully, something small and metal clinked onto the floor between us. Jamie's keychain. The one with the little plastic guitar. I'd seen it 1,000 times. I stared at it. My mind tried to build a story that made sense. Maybe he'd found it somewhere. Maybe he was a sick human who'd mugged them. Maybe they were still alive. But all the threads fell apart. I took a shaky breath. "Why?" I asked. He seemed genuinely puzzled by the question. "Why not?" he said. My chest hurt. He took another step toward me. "Don't," I said, voice breaking. He smiled again. "This part is always hard for you," he said. "But it goes quick. I promise." I believed him. There was no bravado in his tone, no gloating. He sounded like a dentist trying to reassure a patient about a painful procedure. I backed up until I felt the low wall behind me. One more step and I'd go over. He noticed. "Oh," he said softly. "Careful. That way's messier." He moved then. I didn't see the first step. One moment he was a few yards away. The next his arms were reaching out, longer than they had any right to be, hands spreading like pale fans. I dropped. It wasn't a plan. My knees just buckled. I hit the concrete hard, pain flaring up my left side, but his hands went over me instead of into me, fingers closing on empty air. His laugh was louder this time. "There you are," he said. "I was wondering when you'd surprise me." I scrambled sideways on hands and knees, slipping on the rough surface. I headed not for the stairwell, not for the wall, but for the far corner where the ceiling met a solid pillar. The only thing in my head was, get small. Get away from those arms, those hands. I dove behind the pillar. It wasn't cover, not really. The floor was open, but it blocked his direct line of sight for a second. I heard his footsteps. Slow. Unhurried. "Hide and seek?" he asked. "We can play if you like." I pressed my back against the cold concrete and clamped my hand over my mouth. My phone light shook in my grip. "Let's see," he murmured. "Where did you go?" His voice moved closer, then farther, then closer again, like he was drifting. The light from my phone seemed obscene suddenly. A bright little flag screaming, "Here, here, here." I flicked it off. Darkness slammed down like a lid. The town was still out there, glowing, but it felt so far away. The only real light nearby was the faint spill from Tessa's abandoned phone, and even that was weak. My breathing sounded thunderous in my own head. He was quiet now. That scared me more. I waited, counting heartbeats, trying not to sob. A hand touched the pillar. I didn't see it. I felt the vibration through the concrete, a subtle tapping, like fingertips testing the surface. Then the slightest scraping sound as fingers slid along the edge toward me. He didn't rush. Each movement was patient. "Better," he said, voice low. It sounded closer now. "Much better. Lights off. It's always better in the dark." My body moved before my mind did. I dropped flat and rolled. His hand swept around the pillar, huge fingers clutching at the air where my chest had been a second before. One brushed my arm. It felt dry and strong, like a rope. I kicked out reflexively. My heel hit something hard. His shin, maybe. It didn't seem to bother him. I didn't wait to see his reaction. I crawled, then stumbled, then ran, heading not for the stairwell, not for the edge, but sideways toward the opposite corner, zigzagging like a panicked animal. Behind me, his footsteps shifted. Longer now, less leisurely. "You're going to make me work," he said. "That's all right. I have time." He did. Time was his. The dark was his. I was the one running out. People always ask me later why I didn't go for the stairs. The truth is, I knew I couldn't win that way. He was between me and the exit. Even if I slipped past him once, those arms would wrap around me halfway down. He'd drag me into some corner I'd never see coming. So I went for the only thing he seemed to care about. The light. Tessa's phone still lay near the edge, screen up. Its glow was faint, but in the darkness, it was a beacon. If I could get to it, maybe I could, I don't know, throw it, use it as bait, make him look the wrong way while I did something else. It wasn't a good plan, but it was all I had. I sprinted across the open floor. My shoes slapped the concrete. The sound bounced off the bare walls, came back at me from every direction. Behind me, his stride lengthened. I could feel him closing, the way you feel a train coming through its vibration before you hear it. I didn't look back. The little circle of light grew bigger. Tessa's phone, the smear beside it. I reached for it. His hand came down where my head had been an instant before. I threw myself forward, sliding. My fingers closed around Tessa's phone as the air above me was cut by something pale. His hand hit the floor with a hard smack. Cracks spiderwebbed out from the impact. I rolled away, gasping, and slapped the side button on my own phone with my thumb. The flashlight blazed back on. I jammed both phones toward his face. For the first time, he flinched. It was small. A twitch of the head, a slight jerk backward. His eyes narrowed. The hat's brim cast his upper face in deeper shadow, but I saw his mouth tighten. Now, he said, voice still calm but with an edge. That's not nice. I held the lights on him. Up close, his features wavered. My brain kept trying to settle them into something familiar. Sometimes he looked like an older man, sometimes younger. Sometimes his skin seemed smooth, sometimes it had lines. The only constant was the distortion of length. His jaw was too long, his cheekbones stretched. His neck was a little too tall. And those arms, he raised them to shield his face. Long fingers splayed. The light painted every tendon, every knuckle. I realized how stupid I was being. I was cornered near the edge. The low wall pressed against the backs of my legs. I had nowhere else to go. Leave me alone, I said, my voice ragged. Or I swear I'll... You'll what? He asked. His tone hadn't changed much, but his body had. He was tense now, coiled, the easy, lazy posture gone. He looked ready to spring. I'll jump, I said. The words surprised me as much as him. He went still. For the first time, silence stretched between us without his voice filling it. You won't, he said finally. I didn't answer. Behind me, the drop yawned. I could almost feel the open air at my back, pulling. People like you don't jump, he said. You cling. You scratch. You beg. Try me, I said. My legs shook, but I didn't step away from the edge. His head tilted. Slowly. His arms lowered a little. You think falling is better? He asked, almost curious. You think it'll hurt less? I tightened my grip on the phones. My palms were slick. I think, I said, you don't get to have me if I do. His smile vanished. The change in his expression was small but total, like a mask dropping. A flicker of something cold moved behind his eyes. I always get to have you, he said. Then he moved. He didn't lunge straight for me. He swept one arm low, faster than I thought something that long could move. His hand knocked my own phone out of my grasp. It clattered away, lights spinning. The other arm shot out, fingers closing not around me, but around the low wall. The concrete cracked again under the force. In that split second, I saw what he was going to do. If I jumped, he'd catch me. Those long arms could reach farther than I'd guessed. He'd lean out, grab my ankle, haul me back like I was nothing. Panic wiped my thoughts clean. I did the only thing left. I stepped onto the wall. The edge was narrow. My shoes didn't have much grip. The town swayed below me, lights blurring. He froze. Now if he reached, if he lunged, even if he just brushed me, I'd fall before he could grab hold properly. It was a stalemate, and we both knew it. We stared at each other. His hat cast his eyes in shadow, but I could feel his gaze on me like pressure. "You are very inconvenient," he said quietly. He sounded not angry exactly, irritated, like I was a puzzle piece that didn't fit where he wanted. "Good," I said. My teeth chattered. He shifted his weight, testing. I wobbled. "Careful," he murmured. "Stay back," I said. We hung there, suspended. Below, a car horn honked somewhere in town. The sound floated up thinly, unreal. The darkness pressed around us, eager. "You can't stay there forever," he said. "I only need to stay until morning," I said. His lips thinned. "I don't like the light," he said. "You know that already." I nodded, despite the risk of moving. "Then maybe you should leave," I said. He didn't. He stayed right where he was, just out of reach, watching, waiting. "Do you know how many I've had here?" he asked after a while. I didn't answer. "Dozens," he said. "Hundreds, if you count the ones who only half came in. A step in the doorway, a peek down the stairs. The dark is patient. It only needs a sliver." He smiled faintly. "But you," he said, "you did everything right. You came all the way up. You turned off your light. You even ran. All the flavors." The phrase made my stomach churn. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because you're still here," he said simply. "And no one stays as long as you without breaking." I stared at him. "How long have you been here?" I asked. He shrugged one long shoulder. "As long as there's been a place for me to stand where the light doesn't reach," he said. "Long before this frame. Long after it comes down, too." "You're stuck in the dark," I said. He chuckled. "You say that like it's a prison," he said. "It's a home." We fell silent again. My legs ached. My feet throbbed. My lower back burned. Every muscle screamed at me to step down. He watched. Time blurred. At some point, the sky began to change. It was subtle at first, just a fading of the deepest black, a hint of gray at the horizon. The town's lights seemed a little less bright in contrast. I felt it before I saw it somehow, a loosening in the air. His head snapped up. "No," he said softly. The word was the first genuinely upset sound I'd heard from him. He looked past me, toward the east. The brim of his hat hid his eyes, but his jaw tightened. "Not yet," he said. "We're not finished." "I think we are," I said. He looked back at me. "If you come here again," he said, his voice low and even, "if you stand in the dark again, I will take my time with you. I will peel you like bark. I will crack every little bone in those fingers you keep wrapped around your little lights." His tone never rose. He didn't snarl. He just recited it, like a promise. "I'm not coming back," I whispered. "You all say that," he said. "You lie. Not to me. To yourselves. You will walk down a hallway at night without turning on the light. You will go into a basement because the bulb is burned out and you don't want to fetch a new one. You will stand in your room and stare into a dark closet. You will tell yourselves there's nothing there." He took a step backward into the stairwell. "But I will be there," he said. The sky lightened another shade. He shuddered. I hadn't seen him do that before. It wasn't fear exactly, more like discomfort, like someone stepping from a warm room into the snow. "We're not finished," he repeated. Then he was gone. He didn't vanish in a puff of smoke or sink into the floor. He just turned and walked down the stairs, long limbs folding neatly. The darkness swallowed him. I stood on the wall until the sun came up. They found me around mid-morning. A construction worker had called the police after noticing the cut fence when he drove by. By the time they got up to the top floor, my legs had stopped responding. I was half sitting on the wall, half leaning against the pillar, both phones dead in my hands. They thought I was high at first. I barely responded when they spoke to me. I remember the bright white of a flashlight in my eyes, the grip of hands pulling me down, the murmur of voices. They asked where my friends were. I couldn't answer them. They found Tessa's phone. They found Jamie's keychain. They found a lot of blood. They never found the bodies. The official story is that they fell. Maybe they only found the blood because the rest of them was scattered in ways I don't want to imagine, spread across rebar and broken floors and God knows what. That's what everyone says when they talk about it. It was that old building. It was an accident. They were drunk and stupid. I don't correct them. What would I say? That there was a man with arms too long and a hat too wide waiting in the dark. That he spoke softly and killed quickly. They'd lock me up. They already tried, in their own way. Hospital, therapists, pills that made my thoughts foggy. I got better enough to function. I moved away from the town. The frame is gone now, I heard. They finally tore it down after the incident. Good. It doesn't matter. He doesn't need that building. He just needs the dark. You think I'm paranoid. You think I'm traumatized. And that's why I act like this. Why I leave lights on. Why I don't go to the movies unless it's a daytime showing. Why I keep a flashlight in every room. You're not wrong, but you're missing something. He let me go. I didn't escape. Not really. If he'd wanted me, he could have had me. He could have grabbed me off that wall even at the risk of falling himself. I don't think falling would have killed him. He didn't. He stepped back. He told me we weren't finished. I live my life around that unfinished sentence. I know how crazy that sounds. I know it's been years. I know I haven't seen him again. Not fully. Sometimes when the power flickers, I catch a shape in the corner of my eye. Something tall in the hallway, just beyond the reach of the emergency light's red glow. Sometimes when I'm lying in bed and I forget to close my closet door, I feel a warmth on my face, like someone is leaning over me, breathing very quietly. Sometimes when I'm walking home late and I have no choice but to pass an alley, I hear a gentle humming from the darkness. Every time I turn on a light, or I cross the street, or I close the door, you'd think that would make me feel safe. It doesn't, because I know the truth. The truth is, he doesn't have to catch me running up a staircase anymore. He doesn't have to drag me across concrete. Time is patient. The dark is patient. I'm not. One day, I'll be tired. One day, I'll forget. One day, I'll reach into a cupboard without flipping the switch first. One day, I'll go down to a basement to reset a breaker and think, it's fine. It's just for a second. One day the bulb will blow when I'm halfway up the stairs, and he'll be there, long arms folded neatly, hat brim low, hands open in welcome. Easy there, friend, he'll say, voice warm and gentle as ever. I told you we weren't finished. And this time, there won't be a sunrise to save me. This time, there will only be the dark and him. I used to think the worst thing he did to me was kill my friends. I was wrong. The worst thing he did was let me live long enough to build another life around the days and then show up again anyway. Years passed. I did what everyone told me to do. I moved away. I went to therapy. I took the pills. I changed my hair. I changed my name for a while too. That didn't stick, but I tried. I got a job where I could work during the day and go home before the sun dipped low enough to make long shadows in the stairwell. People told me I was coping well. I nodded. I learned how to say the right things in the right order so nobody would stare too long. I live in a city now. Not a huge one, but big enough that the streets are never completely black. There's always some spill of light from a billboard, from a store sign, from someone's window. If you don't want to see real darkness, you can avoid it. Mostly. My apartment is on the 6th floor of an old red brick building. When I moved in, the landlord bragged about the renovations. New wiring, new plumbing, new intercom. The hall lights are on motion sensors to save energy, she said. The basement has brand new washing machines. There's a little courtyard in the back, with 2 half-dead trees, and a bench that somehow always feels damp. When she was done with the tour, I asked one question. What happens if the power goes out? She blinked at me. There's an emergency light in the stairwell, she said, and the city grid is pretty stable. We don't get many outages. That wasn't an answer, not really, but it was better than nothing. I took the place. My therapist calls it hypervigilance. I call it staying alive. I keep lights on in every room I'm using, and the ones I'm about to use. I have 3 flashlights in the apartment, one in the kitchen drawer, one in the bedside table, one by the front door. There are 2 more in my backpack, and one in my desk at work. I always bring my phone charger wherever I go. I don't let the battery drop low if I can help it. I don't watch horror movies. I don't go camping. I don't go to bars with poorly lit bathrooms. People sometimes notice. They joke about it. "You're like a lizard," my coworker Matt said once, squinting when he walked into my office. "Always under a heat lamp." "I like to see what I'm doing," I said. "It's not that weird." He laughed and called me Grandpa for the rest of the week. Then something else caught his attention, and he dropped it. Most people are like that. They notice, they comment, they move on. They live in a world where the dark is empty. They don't have a reason to argue with someone who insists on lighting it up. There's one person who doesn't let it slide so easily, though. Her name is Leah. I met Leah at a coffee place near my office. I was there because they had big front windows and bright white lights, and no cozy dim corners. She was there because, in her words, their muffins didn't taste like cardboard. We ended up sharing a table because the place was crowded. She was on a break from the clinic where she worked as a nurse. I was trying to decide whether to answer an email from my boss now, or pretend I hadn't seen it until morning. She had tired eyes and a heartbeat tattoo behind one ear. She noticed me flinching whenever someone opened the door and let the gray winter light stutter across the floor. "You okay?" she asked eventually. "Yeah," I said. "I just don't like flickering." She tilted her head and watched me for a few seconds. "Epilepsy?" she asked. "Something like that," I said. I expected her to nod and go back to her muffin. Instead, she asked, "How bad?" I almost told her to mind her own business, but something in her voice stopped me. It wasn't nosy. It was practical, the way she might ask a patient if they'd taken their meds. I shrugged. "I keep lights on," I said. "I don't go into dark rooms. It's manageable." "What happens if you have to?" she asked. "I don't," I said. She smiled at that. Not in a mean way. Just a small, knowing curve of her mouth. "Everybody has to sometimes," she said. "Life doesn't care about your phobias." "It's not a phobia," I said automatically. Her eyebrows went up. "What is it then?" she asked. "A good reason," I said before I could stop myself. She studied me. "Something happen?" she asked softly. Memories jumped up like sharks behind my eyes. Concrete. Blood. A wide-brimmed hat. Long hands smacking into the floor hard enough to crack it. "Yeah," I said. She didn't push for more. She just nodded like that explained a lot, which, I guess, it did. We started talking about other things. Work, the city, the way the coffee here always tasted a little burnt, but somehow we kept buying it anyway. When her break was over, she wrote her number on my napkin. "Text me sometime," she said. "Maybe we can find a place where the lights don't constantly flicker in your face." I watched her leave, hair pulled back in a messy knot, sneakers squeaking on the tile, and realized that for the first time in a very long time, I wanted to be around someone who wasn't dead or trying to fix me. So I texted. And she stayed. Leah moved into my apartment almost 2 years after that first coffee. By then, she knew the basics. That I'd been in an accident as a teenager. That I'd lost friends. That it happened in an unfinished building. That I didn't like stairwells or basements or any place where the light didn't reach the corners. She didn't know about the man in the hat. I wasn't ready to say that out loud to someone who shared my bed. She was patient at first. She didn't tease me when I went around the apartment turning every lamp on. She didn't say anything when I froze at the top of the stairwell one night, when one of the motion lights had died and left a dark slice between floors. She took my hand and walked me down without comment. One evening, though, when I got home from work, she was sitting at the kitchen table with her laptop open. There were several tabs pulled up. Articles, forums, words like exposure, avoidance, trauma, phobia. "Hey," I said, stomach tightening. She looked up and smiled, but there was a crease between her eyebrows. "I've been reading," she said. "That's never good," I said, trying to joke. She didn't laugh. "You're doing your best," she said. "I know you are. But it's owning you." "It's keeping me alive," I said. She shut the laptop. "Nothing is keeping you alive," she said. "You're keeping you alive, but you're also shrinking your life to do it." I went to the sink and turned on the tap even though I didn't need water. I just needed noise. "There are worse things than being careful," I said. "Yeah," she said. "Like never going out after dark. Like turning down promotions because you don't want to be the last one in the office. Like having a panic attack in a cinema because they turned the house lights down before the previews started." "That was one time," I muttered. "And it scared you," she said. "And it scared me, watching you." I kept my eyes on the running water. The fluorescent light above the sink buzzed faintly. I pictured it going out, the room plunging into shadow. My chest tightened. "What are you suggesting?" I asked. "Not tonight," she said quickly. "Not tomorrow. But we could do it gradually. Like those articles say. Controlled. You pick the place, you pick the time, you pick who's with you. We start small. One hallway, one stairwell, 1 minute in the dark with me holding your hand." I gripped the edge of the sink. "I don't think you get it," I said. "Then help me get it," she said. "Sitting here with all the lights on and pretending the sun never sets isn't getting it." I looked at her. She wasn't angry. She wasn't nagging. She was worried. Her shoulders were tense, her hands folded so tightly her knuckles were white. She wanted to help. I wanted to let her. But "You're not the one who has to close their eyes at night and wonder if something is standing in the corner," I said. "You're not the one who hears humming from the wardrobe." Her face softened. "You still hear that?" she asked quietly. "Sometimes. Not always. Enough." "Sometimes," I said. She got up and came to stand beside me. She put her hand on my back. "I'm not saying we rush anything," she said. "I'm just asking you to think about it. I don't want to lose you to this. Okay?" I closed my eyes. Okay. That word had ruined my life once already. "We'll see," I said. She accepted that. For the moment. The building we live in is old enough to have quirks. Pipes that clank. A radiator that sometimes sounds like someone thumping it with their fist. A stairwell light that likes to wait until you're halfway down before flicking on. And the basement. Of course there's a basement. It's where the washing machines are. The storage cages. The fuse boxes for the whole building. It smells like detergent and damp concrete. Leah does laundry there. I don't. I pay extra for a service that picks up our clothes and brings them back folded. I'd rather spend more money than stand at the top of those stairs and stare down into that pale, motion sensor cone of light in the middle of so much gray. You could just come with me, Leah said once, basket on her hip. You don't have to go all the way down, just to the door. Pass, I said. She sighed, but she didn't push. She went down alone. I counted the minutes until she came back. Once, she took longer than usual. I hovered by the apartment door, fingers pressed to the peephole, as if that would let me see through concrete and steel down to the basement. When the elevator doors finally opened and she stepped out, fine and whole, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Sorry, she said. Some guy had left his stuff in the machine and it finished like 20 minutes ago. I didn't want to be that person who just dumps it on top, so I waited. It's fine, I said. My voice came out thin. She watched me for a second. You really thought something happened to me, she said. I nodded. She sighed and leaned her head against my shoulder for a moment. Come down with me next time, she murmured. Just to stand by the door, that's all. So you can see it's just a basement. I almost said yes. Almost. Later I'll think about that. About how close I came. About whether it would have changed anything. Probably not. Some things don't care if you're brave or not. I started seeing stories in the news sometimes. The kind you scroll past because they're awful and you don't want them in your head. People found in stairwells. People found in parking garages. People who wandered into abandoned lots at night and never came back. People who slipped in tunnels, in alleys, in underpasses. Accidents, most of them. A few were labeled violence, assault, murder. The descriptions were always vague. Blunt force trauma, catastrophic injuries, foul play suspected. No suspects at this time. The pictures, if there were any, were of grieving faces, of lit candles, of trash-strewn sidewalks with police tape sagging in the rain. Normal city stuff. Happens all the time. Even so, sometimes when a story mentioned a place that was particularly dark, like an unlit stairwell in a condemned building, my fingers would go numb. I'd stare at the words until they blurred. He's here, I'd think. Then I'd shut my laptop or lock my phone and go around the apartment checking the lights. Leah noticed. Why do you read that crap if it upsets you? She asked one night, voice muffled by her pillow. I don't go looking for it, I said. It just shows up. She groaned. That's the internet, she said. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to let it in your head. Too late, I said under my breath. What? Nothing, I said. She rolled over and put her hand on my chest. You're safe, she said. We're safe. I stared at the ceiling. I didn't say what I was thinking. We're safe for now. The night everything finally broke open, I almost stayed late at work. That thought keeps me up more than anything else. How simple it would have been. One decision, one email, one more hour at my desk under those harsh office lights. Things would have happened anyway, probably. But maybe not to me. Maybe not to Leah. Maybe not the way they did. My boss stuck his head into my office near the end of the day. Hey, you joining us at O'Grady's? He asked. We're doing a little send-off for Maggie. Maggie had gotten another job. Everyone was pretending to be happy for her while secretly cursing her for leaving. Normal office stuff. I can't, I said. I promised Leah I'd be home for dinner. He gave me a look. You said that last time, he said. I actually did, I said. She's doing some special thing. I don't know. It involves roasted vegetables and a lot of candles. Candles? He said, grinning. You sure you're invited, Mr. Turn Every Light On in the building? They're scented, I said. And she doesn't turn the overheads off, so I'll survive. He laughed and moved on to the next office. I packed up slowly, put my laptop in my bag, checked my phone battery, picked up my flashlight from the drawer like I always did, even though it was still broad day outside. The elevator ride down to the lobby was uneventful. The security guard nodded at me. The front doors sighed open. The sky outside was heavy with low clouds, but there was still light. Cars, people, dogs pulling their owners along the sidewalk. I walked home. It takes me about 20 minutes when the lights are green. I stayed on the side of the street with more shops, more windows, more things spilling brightness onto the pavement. Halfway there, my phone buzzed. It was Leah. Hey, power's flickering a bit here. Not sure what's going on. Hurry home, okay? I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. My first instinct was to turn around and go back to the office. Stay where the backup generators would kick in, where there were people and fluorescent bulbs and emergency lights. Then I pictured Leah in our hallway watching the lights stutter, in the stairwell, in the basement doing laundry. My stomach nodded. On my way, I typed back. Almost there. I picked up my pace. By the time I turned onto our street, something was wrong. The traffic lights at the corner were all dark. A couple of cars were stuck in the intersection, honking at each other. People stood on the sidewalk looking up and down like they were waiting for someone to explain. The whole street had a dim, washed-out look. Some buildings across the way still had lights in their windows, but ours was dark. No warm squares of yellow, no glow from the little lobby. A power outage. Not citywide, but big enough. A chill crawled up my back. I jogged the last few steps and pushed into the building. The lobby was gray, not completely black, just gray. A single emergency light glowed over the mailboxes, small and mean. It cast sharp shadows that made the corners look deeper than they were. There were already a few residents gathered there. Mrs. Patel from the 3rd floor, clutching her cardigan around her. The young couple from 5B, whispering. A teenage boy in a hoodie leaning against the wall, scrolling on his phone. Transformer Blue, probably, someone said. Or some idiot crashed into a pole. Does anyone have an ETA? Another voice asked. No service, the teen said, wiggling his phone. Bars are there, but nothing's loading. I looked up. The stairwell mouth yawned near the elevator. The emergency light inside it was on, a small circle halfway up, leaving the top part in shadow and the bottom in something worse. Leah wasn't there. I checked my phone. No new messages. My heart thudded harder. Anyone see Leah? I asked, louder than I meant to. 6th floor, short dark hair, nurse's scrubs. Mrs. Patel frowned. I saw her go down, she said, with a basket. My throat went dry. Down where? I asked, even though I already knew. "The basement," she said. "The lights were still on then." "How long ago?" I asked. She hesitated. "I don't know," she said. "A little while, before everything flickered." The emergency lights hummed. The hallway beyond the stairwell mouth was black. I gripped my backpack strap until my fingers hurt. Why would she go down there during a storm? The guy from 5B's girlfriend muttered. "Laundry schedules don't care about the weather," he said. "Relax." Someone laughed nervously. "Relax." "Sure." I opened my backpack and pulled out my flashlight. It felt small, pathetic. "I'm going to get her," I said. A couple of people turned to look at me. "Don't be stupid," the teen said. "Wait for the power guys, or the super. It's probably nothing." Probably. The word bounced around my skull. I remembered a stairwell in a half-built frame, pale hands on concrete, cracks spiderwebbing out from long fingers. I remembered a gentle voice saying, "Come down and say hello properly." "I'm not waiting," I said. I pushed into the stairwell. Emergency lights are the worst compromise. They're just bright enough to give you hope, and just dim enough to let anything standing right outside their circle vanish. The one in our stairwell was halfway up between the lobby and the first floor. It painted a round window of light on the concrete, leaving long slices of shadow above and below. I stepped into it like I was stepping under a shower, and instantly felt better, then worse when I looked down. The stairs to the basement fell away into black within 3 steps. My flashlight caught the first few, then nothing. I thought about calling Leah's name. I didn't. Last time I'd called down into a dark stairwell. Something else had answered. This time, I just breathed through my teeth and started down. Each step felt thinner than the last. My light made the handrail gleam in a narrow strip. The stairwell smelled like dust and laundry detergent and old metal. There was no humming, no voice, just the pulse of my heart in my ears. I reached the turn where the stairs doubled back. The wall cut off the emergency light's faint glow. Down here, all I had was my beam. I paused and listened. Nothing. "Leah," I said finally, voice barely above a whisper. No answer. "Leah, if you're down there, say something." Silence. I swallowed. Maybe she'd already come back up and was stuck in the hallway with everyone else. Maybe we'd passed each other somehow. Maybe she was upstairs in the apartment with candles lit, wondering where I was. I almost turned around. Almost. Then I heard it. A sound from below. Not a voice this time. Something like fabric brushing against concrete. A faint, wet slip. A soft, heavy thump. Like a bag of laundry dropped from hip height. I knew that sound. My body knew it before my mind did. It was the sound of something soft, meeting something hard. I tightened my grip on the flashlight and kept going. My brain tried to build safe explanations. Someone dropped something. Someone knocked a basket over. The machines shuddered when the power cut. But the air changed with each step. It got heavier, thicker. The smell of detergent faded, replaced by something metallic and sweet under the concrete dust. Near the bottom, My light finally reached the basement door. It was propped open by a brick, like it always was. A pale rectangle of linoleum showed beyond it, washed in gray. I stopped one step above the landing. The smell was stronger now. Blood has a very specific scent when there's enough of it. It's not like pennies. It's meat and iron and something that makes your hindbrain curl up. I knew that smell. I closed my eyes for a second. When I opened them, the basement door was still there. Nothing had changed. There was no man in a hat framed in the doorway. No long arms reaching up the stairwell. "Leah," I said again, slightly louder. Something moved beyond the door. Not a shape, just a change in the gray. A flicker. Then finally a voice. "Easy there, friend." Warm, calm, like last time. Like he was leaning against the machines with his hands in his pockets, waiting for me to come down. My throat closed. I didn't answer. "Don't be shy," he said. "You came all this way." My legs wanted to bolt. Up the stairs, back into the lobby, out into the street. Anywhere but here. But Leah had come down here before the lights went. Leah was probably still here, or pieces of her. My stomach flipped. "What did you do?" I said. It came out more like a croak. "Such a rude assumption," he said. "You always jump straight to the worst conclusions." He sounded closer now, like he was standing just inside the door. I raised the flashlight and pointed it at the lintel. "Stay where you are," I said. "Don't come near the stairs." He chuckled. "Still bargaining," he said. "Still making rules. You must be fun at parties." He didn't move. I realized I was holding my breath. Slowly, I edged down the last step onto the landing. My boots squeaked faintly. The basement stretched out on the other side of the door. Rows of machines, storage cages with wire fronts, concrete pillars. The emergency lighting down here hadn't come on. The only illumination was my flashlight and a dim rectangle of gray from a small ground-level window near the ceiling that looked out onto the alley. Shadows pooled everywhere. I swept the beam across the room. Something white on the floor near the machines. A laundry basket tipped onto its side. Clothes spilled out, a pair of jeans, a blue t-shirt, a patterned bra, Leah's clothes. My chest seized. "Leah," I said, stepping through the doorway. My voice cracked on her name. The flashlight jittered in my hand. There was a scuff mark on the linoleum near the basket, like two shoes had twisted hard. Beyond that, just more gray. "She's quieter than your other friends," the man in the hat said. "Doesn't shout as much." The voice came from my left. I swung the beam that way. For a second, I saw only the wire front of a storage cage. Behind it, boxes, a bike, a stack of old paint cans. Then my light dipped. There was a shoe against the cage. Just one. Leah's sneaker. Something inside it. Her foot. The shoe was still laced. The sock above it had a pattern of little yellow stars. I'd watched her pull them on this morning, sitting on the end of the bed. Now the foot inside the sock was at the wrong angle. Too loose, too empty. My brain refused to connect it to the rest of her. There was no rest of her in sight. Just that foot. That ankle. A smear of red drying on the floor nearby where something had been. My knees wobbled. I liked her, the man said softly. She was very kind. My beam jerked up. He was standing in the far corner, beside the fuse boxes, the ones that controlled the power for the entire building. The ones Leah had probably come down to check when the lights flickered. He stood in front of them like a lamppost with a hat. He looked the same. Same long coat, hanging a little loose on his stretched frame. Same long arms. Same wide hands, relaxed at his sides. Same hat with the soft brim casting a shadow over his eyes. There were streaks on his sleeves. Dark. Irregular. I told you, he said. We weren't finished. I swallowed. You said you don't like the light, I managed. I don't, he said. He gestured lazily at the ceiling. Look around, he said. Is there any here? My flashlight felt heavier. He watched it. That little thing won't save you, he said. You know that now. I glanced back toward the stairs. He tisked softly. If you run, he said, you'll leave her alone with me. My chest clenched. She's already... I started, then stopped. I couldn't say it. His smile was slight. She's not all gone, he said. Not yet. Something moved behind him. For a second, in the dim edge of my beam, I saw something slump against the wall near the fuse boxes. A dark shape. The outline of a shoulder. Hair. Leah. Her head lolled to the side. One arm hung limp. Her other arm wasn't there anymore. The sleeve of her scrub top ended in something wet and ruined. My gut heaved. Leah, I whispered. Her head twitched. Her eyes opened a crack. She saw me. Her mouth moved. No sound came out. Then the man in the hat laid one of his long hands gently on her face, covering most of it. Shh, he murmured. You're making him upset. His fingers splayed. His thumb brushed her cheek. Her eyes rolled back. Her chest stopped moving. I stepped forward without meaning to. Stop, I said. He kept his hand on her face for another few seconds, like he was feeling the last warmth leave. Then he let go. Her head tipped sideways. Her body slid down the wall, leaving a wet streak. He shook his hand slightly, flicking droplets onto the floor like water. You always show up too late, he said. It's a pattern with you. I raised the flashlight and pointed it directly at his face. He didn't flinch this time. His eyes were shadowed by the brim, but I saw his mouth. Calm. Almost small. A little brighter than last time, he said. You've upgraded. Why her? I asked. My voice tore at my throat. He tilted his head. You bring someone into your den and you ask me why I knock them down? He asked. You're the one who keeps inviting guests to the edge. I took another step forward. The light shook. You could have taken anyone else, I said. He smiled slightly. I take lots of anyone else, he said. You're not that special. But this one, she was attached. I could feel it when she came down here thinking of you and the broken lights. That makes it sweeter. I wanted to rush him. I wanted to fling myself at him, flashlight and fists and teeth, and tear until my hands broke. I knew how that would end. I'd seen his hands close on concrete hard enough to crack it. I'd seen how fast he moved when he cared. Instead, I did something worse. I backed away. I did it without deciding. My feet just moved. The light stayed on his face as long as it could, then slipped off his collar, his coat, his hands, the floor. His voice followed me into the doorway. "Going already?" he asked. We barely started. I stepped onto the landing, out of the basement, back toward the stairs. He didn't chase me. Not yet. There is a kind of shaking that starts in your bones and works its way out gradually until your fingers and teeth join in. That's what hit me on the stairs. I clutched the flashlight with both hands and climbed. The emergency light near the lobby glowed above me like a dirty moon. I didn't call for help. What would I say? There's a tall thing in a hat in our basement that kills in the dark with very long hands. Please send everyone down there right now. People were still in the lobby. More of them now. The super Mr. Weber had joined them. He was a big man with a gray beard and a permanent scowl that got deeper when he saw me. "There you are," he said. "You live on 6, right? I was going to ask you if you'd seen your girlfriend. Hey, are you okay?" I must have looked bad. I ignored him and walked straight to the middle of the lobby. "Everyone," I said. My voice cracked. People turned. "Everyone needs to get out," I said. "Right now, leave the building." A murmur went up. "What? Why?" "We're fine here." "It's just a power cut." I raised the flashlight and swept it around without really seeing their faces. "There's someone in the basement," I said. "He killed..." My throat closed. "Who?" Mrs. Patel asked, hand at her throat. I forced the word out. "Leah." It broke in the middle. The lobby erupted. Voices, gasps. Someone swore loudly. Mr. Weber stepped closer, frowning. "What are you talking about?" he said. "What do you mean killed? Did she fall? Are you saying there's some maniac down there?" "Yes," I said. "You need to get everyone outside. Call the police. Call whoever. Just don't go down there. Don't let anyone go down there. Stay in the street, in the light." The teen in the hoodie snorted. "What? You think Dracula's down there or something?" he said. "Shut up, Noah," his mother hissed. Mr. Weber put a hand on my arm. "Sit down," he said. "You're in shock. Tell me what you saw. I'll go down and check." I jerked away from his hand like it burned. "No," I said. "You are not going down there. Do you hear me? You're not." The building creaked. The emergency light flickered. Just once. Just enough to make every shadow in the lobby jump. People gasped. Then it steadied again. My heart slammed into my ribs hard enough to hurt. "He doesn't like the light," I said. "He'll wait until it goes out." "Who?" Mrs. Patel whispered. "The man in the hat," I said. The words came out before I could edit them, before I could swap them for something that sounded less insane. Silence fell. "The what?" the guy from 5B said. I started, then stopped. How could I describe him in a way that didn't sound like I should be in a padded room? He's killed before, I said instead. He killed my friends when I was a teenager. He only comes where it's dark. He's been around, in other places, in other cities, in stairwells, in basements, in parking garages, anywhere the light doesn't reach. The teen rolled his eyes. "Okay, creepypasta," he said. "Is this like some viral thing? Are there cameras here? Are you trying to prank us while the power's out?" "No," I said. No one moved for a few seconds. Then the guy from 5B stepped forward. "All right," he said. "I'm going to go down and see what's actually happening. Leah probably fell and hit her head or something. Did you even check her pulse?" My stomach flipped. "Don't," I said. "Some of us live in the real world," he said. "If someone's hurt, we help them. We don't stand around telling ghost stories." He strode toward the stairwell. Mr. Weber reached out. "Dennis, hold on," he said. "We should at least—" Dennis waved him off. "It's fine," he said. "If there's some guy down there, I'll shout and you can call the cops." He disappeared into the stairwell before I could move. My legs locked. Everyone stared after him. We listened. His footsteps on the stairs. His voice, faint and jokey. "Hello? Basement monster? You down here?" I swallowed. Somewhere deep below, my flashlight beam was still on the floor. He would see Leah's foot. He would see her body by the fuse boxes. He would probably turn his back to the far corner because he thinks no one is in it. "Dennis," I called. My voice sounded small. His footsteps paused. "Seriously, man," I said. "Get back up here." "You're freaking people out," he called back. "I'll just—" His voice cut off. There was a sound, not a scream. Screams are long. They climb. This was short, sharp, like someone had just had the wind punched out of them by something huge. Then a wet crunch. Something thudded against a wall hard enough that I felt a faint vibration under my feet. A couple of people in the lobby cried out. "Oh my God," someone whispered. Mr. Weber's face went white. He took a step toward the stairwell. I grabbed his arm. "Don't," I said. "Don't. He's dead. You can't help him. You'll just—" Another sound floated up, not Dennis. A soft humming. It rose and fell like someone was half singing to themselves, pleased with their work. I knew that tune. Not the exact notes, the feel of it. "Screw this," Noah muttered. He started toward the stairwell too. His mother grabbed him. "No," she said sharply. "No, you're not going down there." He pulled his arm away. "Someone could be hurt," he said. "I'm not." The light flickered again. This time it stayed on, but the room felt darker for a second. "Noah," I said, "listen to your mom." He looked at me with pure teenage defiance. "You're insane," he said. "It's just some psycho down there. He needs to be stopped." "Then let the police stop him," I said. "I'm not scared," he said. I almost laughed. I didn't. Being scared is what keeps you alive. I said. He stared at me. For a second, I thought he'd go anyway. Then the humming from below shifted. "Easy there," the voice called. "One at a time." The tone was light, friendly. Noah paled. His mom pulled him back hard. The lobby erupted in noise again. Someone started crying. Someone else was already dialing emergency services on their phone, talking rapidly, trying to explain that there was a killer in our basement without sounding crazy. I backed toward the entrance. "We have to get outside," I said. "Right now." "What if he comes up?" someone said. "If he comes up, we don't want to be in here with him," I said. "Out there, there's more light, more people, cars. He doesn't like light." Mr. Weber looked torn. "We can't just leave," he started. "Who?" I snapped. "Dennis is dead. Leah is dead. Anyone else down there is dead. Do you want to be next?" His mouth snapped shut. The emergency light hummed. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed faintly. That decided him. "All right," he said hoarsely. "Everyone out. Stay on the sidewalk. Don't go into the back courtyard. Stay by the streetlights. Go, go." People started moving. Not fast enough, in my opinion, but they moved. I followed them out. The street felt different. The rain had started lightly. The sky was that weird pale color it gets when clouds reflect city light. Some buildings on the block still had power. Their windows glowed. Streetlights cast pools of orange on the wet pavement. Our building loomed darker than the others. People clustered on the sidewalk, under awnings and trees. Phones glowed in their hands. Mrs. Patel clutched my sleeve. "Are we safe out here?" she whispered. I looked up and down the street. Shadows everywhere. Between cars. Between trees. In doorways. Under stoops. Number. But safer than inside. "For now," I said. The police took forever. Or maybe it only felt that way. 2 sirens got closer, then stalled somewhere around the next corner, stuck in the traffic snarl caused by the dead lights. People muttered into their phones, trying to give directions. I stood near the curb, flashlight in my hand, scanning every dark shape. Every time I blinked, I saw him in the basement again. Just standing there, long hands relaxed, as if he were waiting at a bus stop. He hadn't come up. Why? He'd never liked the light, but there was plenty of shadow out here. He could have slipped along the underside of the stairwell, through the ground level window, into the alley. He could be in any of those doorways right now, any of those parking garages across the street, any of those unlit shop entrances. I thought of what he'd said. "You're not that special, but this one, she was attached." He'd come for Leah because of me. He'd always wanted me, but he'd been patient, years patient, waiting until I let my guard down, until I stopped living in a frame and started living in a real building with real responsibilities. I wondered who else in all those news stories had been attached to someone like me. How many survivors he'd left walking around with masks of normal lives, just waiting for their turn to come back around. My eyes kept drifting back to the dark rectangle of the basement window in the building's foundation. Nothing moved there. Not that I could see. The sirens finally pulled up. 2 squad cars, 1 ambulance, Officers spilled out, hands on their belts. Paramedics wheeled a gurney they weren't going to need. Questions flew. What happened? Where is he? How many people are down there? What do you mean something in the basement? Sir, I need you to calm down. Mr. Weber did his best to explain. So did Mrs. Patel. So did the guy from 5B's girlfriend, sobbing. They left out the hat. They left out the arms. They left out the humming. I saw it in the way they darted glances at me. I was the only one who had actually seen him in the basement. The only one who had gone down when it was still maybe safe. A female officer with her hair pulled back came up to me. "Can you tell me what you saw?" she asked. "Not safely," I said. She frowned. "Meaning?" she said. I looked her in the eye. "There's a man in the basement who kills people in the dark," I said. "If you go down there with just those little flashlights, he'll take you apart." Her mouth tightened. "We're trained for violent suspects," she said. "We have equipment. Backup. If there's a threat, we neutralize it." "You can't neutralize this," I said. She glanced at my shaking hands. "Are you under any medications?" she asked. "Anything that might make you—" "Listen to me," I said. My voice snapped out harder than I intended. He killed 3 people I loved in another town when I was a teenager. They never found the bodies. He made me look at what was left. He let me go because he wanted time to pass. He wanted me to think I was safe. And then he came back for me through her. I pointed at the dark basement. She swallowed. "Okay," she said slowly. "Okay. That sounds like a lot. I'm sorry for what you went through. But we can't just leave someone down there if they might still be alive." "They're not," I said. "You don't know that for sure," she said. I thought about Leah's eyes rolling back when his hand covered her face. "I do," I said. Her jaw clenched. "We still have to check," she said. I knew I wasn't going to stop her, or the others. Even if I told them everything, even if I described his hands wrapping around concrete, his arms pulling him up a stairwell like a spider climbing a wall, they would chalk it up to shock, trauma, hallucinations. They lived in a world where monsters were people with knives and guns. I lived in one where the dark itself had fingers. "Fine," I said. "Then bring more light." She tilted her head. "We have flashlights," she said. "Not those little things," I said. "Real lights. Floodlights. Break out whatever you use when you search a warehouse. Get more cars. Get, I don't know, a generator." She blinked. "That will take time," she said. "Good," I said. "He's patient. You should be too." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she nodded, almost despite herself. "Wait here," she said. She went to talk to the others. There was some arguing, some gesturing toward the building, toward the basement window, toward the sky, which was getting darker slowly as the day wore down. In the end, they compromised. 2 officers would go down now with their regular gear, just to secure the scene and see if there were any survivors. The others would call for more equipment. I watched the 2 volunteers. Big guy, shaved head. Smaller woman with a nervous jaw clench. They looked like regular people who happened to be wearing uniforms. I wanted to grab them and shake them and shout, "Don't go. He'll break you. He'll fold you like paper." Instead, I watched them walk into the building. My legs shook. I could have left then. I could have turned and walked away. Kept walking until the city ran out. Then kept going. People would have understood, or they would have called me a coward. Either way, they'd never have to see what was going to happen next. I stayed. I couldn't see into the basement from outside. Even with my flashlight beam pointed at the small window, all I got was a reflection of my own face. Pale, sweaty, eyes too wide. Someone nearby was praying. Someone else was live streaming, the glow of their phone screen lighting up their features as they narrated. Cops just went in. Nobody knows what's going on. Apparently some guy. I tuned them out. Minutes stretched. No sound came from the building except a faint echo of movement from the stairwell. Boots on concrete. The low murmur of voices over radio. Then, very faintly, from somewhere below street level, there was a shout. It wasn't a fear shout. It was a startled, angry shout. Then a gunshot. The crowd flinched. Another gunshot. Then something else. A crack. A deep, hard crack, like something heavy slamming into a wall. Then another. Then a sound like a handful of sticks breaking inside a bag. A shape hit the basement window from the inside. The glass spider-webbed. A dark smear spread across it. Someone screamed behind me. I took a step back. My flashlight beam landed on the window for half a second. Through the cracked glass, through the smear, I saw a face. Not his, the big cop. His eyes were wide, staring. His nose was wrong, flattened. There was something bent sideways in the middle of his forehead. He slid down out of sight. The sirens that were already there sounded suddenly very far away. The humming started again, closer this time. He was enjoying himself. Panic moves fast in groups. Some people tried to run into the building. The officers outside held them back, shouting. Others tried to run away from the building, scattering down the sidewalk into the rain, into other shadows. Mr. Weber stood frozen, staring at the cracked basement window like it was going to spit something out. The officer who'd talked to me barked into her radio, calling for backup, for tactical units, for whatever code they had for something is ripping us apart in a basement. I just stood there. My brain had gone past panic to a kind of flat, sick clarity. He was here. He was stronger. He had more to play with now. He'd had years to stretch, and he wasn't stuck in one building anymore. He'd just followed me from one darkness to another. Look at me. The voice was behind me. Not in the basement. Behind me. I turned slowly. He was standing under the archway of the building's entrance. No one was very close to it. The officers had tried to keep a clear zone. The emergency lights inside the lobby painted him from behind, making him a dark shape with a lighter halo. The brim of his hat caught a bit of that glow, outlining it. His arms hung loose. His hands nearly brushed the floor. He shouldn't have been able to come that close to the door. There was light outside. Street light. Car headlights. Windows glowing. He stood just inside the shadow of the arch, hugging the threshold. When cars went by, their headlights swept across his coat, He flinched minutely each time, like the brightness stung, but he didn't step back. He was learning. He could tolerate more now. Or maybe he was just that hungry. People saw him. They didn't scream the way I expected. They didn't shout monster and run. They frowned. "Who the hell is that?" someone said. "Is that the guy?" another voice asked. He looked like a man in a long coat and a hat, standing in a dark doorway. His proportions were off, yes. His arms were too long, his legs too thin. But unless you were really looking, unless you saw his fingers resting on the tile, you could tell yourself it was just a trick of perspective, a shadow, a tall guy. He smiled. No one stepped closer. "Everyone stay back," the officer near me shouted, drawing her gun. "Sir, step out into the open and show me your hands." He already was showing his hands. They hung there, half lit, pale and big. He tilted his head toward her. "Your hands first," he said, "since you're asking so nicely." The sound of his voice made me want to be sick right there on the pavement. She stiffened. "Step out," she said, enunciating each word. He sighed. "Always so demanding," he said. He looked at me. Even with the hat's shadow, I felt his gaze like pressure on my face. "You keep growing," he said. "You get taller, you get older, you get more lines." He smiled slightly. "I stay the same." My jaw clenched. "Then maybe it's time for you to die," I said. People nearby glanced at me, startled that I would talk to him like that. He laughed. The sound rolled out into the street, warm and amused. "Oh, I've been dying for longer than you've been alive," he said. "That's the trick. You learn how to sit in the middle of it." The officer fired. She did it exactly how they're trained. Hands steady, feet planted, 2 quick shots center mass. The bullets hit him. I heard them. Little thuds, like someone dropping pebbles into wet sand. He didn't jerk, didn't stumble. He looked down at the holes in his coat. Dark liquid seeped out around them. Not bright red, darker, thicker. He sighed. "You're going to make me leak," he said. Then he stepped forward, out of the archway, into the streetlight. For a second he looked wrong. His whole shape wavered like heat over asphalt. The edges of him frayed. His hat brim smoked. His smile tightened. He kept going. Each step was deliberate, measured. His feet hit the wet pavement with soft slaps. His shadow stretched out behind him in the harsh orange glow. The officer fired again. One bullet took him in the shoulder. Another hit his leg. He winced. "Stings," he said. "You ever notice how bright things sting?" Then he moved, not toward her, toward the nearest dark spot. A parked delivery van cast a long shadow behind it. Between its undercarriage and the curb, there was a narrow stripe of deep shade the streetlight couldn't reach. He flowed toward it like spilled ink. In 2 steps, half his body was in shadow. The smoking along his edges eased. His coat stopped wavering. He reached one long hand under the van and grabbed someone's ankle. A man who'd been crouching there, trying to film, screamed as he was dragged underneath. The scream cut off fast. His body thumped against the underside of the van hard enough to rock it. People scattered. The officer shouted something. Commands, useless now. I saw everything and nothing. His arms whipped out in quick, jerky arcs. Each time they seemed to cover more distance than they should have. Fingers closing on a wrist, a thigh, a shoulder. Pull, crack, drop. He never stepped fully out of the van's shadow. He used it like a base, reaching from it again and again, only letting parts of himself stray into the light for a second. It was enough. The street became a mess of people trying to run, and people trying to drag others, and people falling. Someone took a hit to the back and folded like they'd been unplugged. The ambulance's lights spun, throwing red and white bars over everything. They made him shudder each time they passed over him, but he kept working. I backed away, not consciously. My feet just started moving. He saw. Even in the chaos, he saw. He dropped the limp body in his hands. It hit the curb at a wrong angle, neck twisted. He let go of the van and took a step toward me. He did it fully in the light this time. His coat smoked. The brim of his hat steamed. His skin bubbled slightly where the glow hit it. His smile never faltered. "Running again," he said. "You're so consistent." I turned and ran. There's a special kind of running you do when you know you're not faster than what's behind you, and your only hope is to get somewhere it can't reach. I sprinted down the sidewalk. People were still screaming. The sirens were louder now, other cars joining. The smell of blood was in the rain. I ran toward the brighter blocks, toward the intersection where the traffic lights still worked, toward the gas station with its floodlit pumps, toward the big grocery store with its harsh humming signage. My lungs burned. My legs felt like they might give out. Behind me, I heard no footsteps. He didn't have to rush. He could just follow the dark. The clouds overhead thickened. The sky in that direction was already sliding toward evening. Shadows lengthened along the buildings, under awnings, between the patches of streetlight. I cut across the road, ignoring a honk. A car swerved around me. The gas station's canopy glowed ahead, white and hard. It painted the wet pavement almost blue. The pumps stood like metal trees. I aimed for it like a lifeboat. I reached the edge of the light and felt something. Like static. Like the air itself protesting. I stepped under the canopy. My vision sharpened. The dark lifted from the corners of my eyes. I turned. He was standing at the edge of the glow, 10, 15 steps away. He was thinner now. The coat hung off him like a wet rag. The edges of him were frayed and smoking. His hat brim sagged slightly on one side. He looked tired. That scared me more than anything else. He should have been endless. He should have been a shadow that never changed. Seeing him worn, damaged, made him real in a way that opened dozens of doors in my head that I didn't want open. If he could be hurt, he could be angry. If he could be angry, he could make mistakes. If he could make mistakes, he could decide I was worth more than the fun of chasing. He lifted one hand and touched the invisible edge of the gas station's light. His fingers sizzled. He hissed softly. "Still too bright," he said. He stepped back an inch. "You're learning," I said, panting. He shrugged. You keep building cages of light for yourselves, he said. I have to understand them if I want to reach in. He flexed his hand. The fingers crackled. Dark fluid dripped down his palm. You've changed, I said. So have you, he said. More gray at the temples, more lines around the mouth, more lies you tell yourself at night. Before, when I'd stood on that top floor wall with the dawn creeping in behind him, he'd talked about me like I was a snack he'd save for later, like a candy bar pushed to the back of a drawer. Now his tone was different. He sounded interested. How are you out here? I asked. You were stuck in that building before. He laughed. Stuck, he said. You think walls mean anything? I was comfortable there. I knew the cracks. I knew where the light failed. But I've always been everywhere you don't look too closely. Under your beds, inside your closets, between the trains. He spread his arms. Every shadow is a room, he said. Every room needs someone to watch it. My skin crawled. All this time, I said. All these years. You could have killed me whenever you wanted. Yes, he said. Why wait? I asked. He smiled. Because you keep making more of you, he said. Little clusters, friends, lovers, children. You build yourselves up like nests. It tastes better if I knock down more than one twig at a time. My stomach lurched. You killed Leah because of me, I said. I killed Leah because she came into my house thinking about you, he said. It painted her in your colors. He cocked his head. You keep thinking this is about you, he said. That's very human. It's adorable. I didn't drag her into your basement, I said. You brought her into your life, he said. Into your building. Onto your floors. You let her walk over my ceiling with a basket on her hip and your name in her head. That's enough. He said it like he was explaining rent. I grabbed the metal column beside the pump like it could hold me up. What do you want from me? I asked. Just say it. He thought about it. I like watching you try, he said. Try what? Pretend there's a way to win. He took a small step closer to the light. The edge of the canopy glow touched his coat. The fabric smoked. A thin line of smoke curled off his shoulder and vanished into the rain. His smile twitched, but he didn't step back. A car idled at the far pump. The driver leaned out. Hey, he called. You guys okay? Need me to call someone? Stay back, I yelled. My voice bounced off the white underside of the canopy. The driver stared at me, then at the tall figure just outside the light. To him, it was just some weird confrontation at a gas station. Something to film. His passenger lifted their phone. Don't, I said. Just go. The man in the hat chuckled. You're making everyone nervous, he said. He dragged his knuckles along the invisible line where the light stopped. His skin hissed. It smelled like burned hair and hot metal. You can't stay under there forever, he said. I can try, I said. You will, he said. You'll wear the light like armor. You'll stack lamps and screens around you like sandbags. But there's always a gap, a dead bulb, a fuse, a shadow between pools. He pointed past me, like that one. I turned before I could stop myself. The station's glass front store was behind me, bright and white. The door slid open with a hiss. A kid came out with a bag of chips and a drink. Light spilled out around him. The door slid shut. Between that glow and the circle under the canopy, there was a strip of darker pavement. A gap. The kid stepped into it. He didn't even look down. "Hey," I started. Something pale flicked out behind him. Just a blur. A hint of fingers. He jerked like someone had kicked the back of his knee. His leg folded. His head hit the concrete first. The sound was small and sick. The chips burst open beside him. His drink rolled in a slow circle and toppled. He twitched once, then went still. The man in the hat watched my face. "See," he said quietly. "So many places to reach." The driver shouted. The passenger dropped their phone and ran toward the kid. "Call an ambulance," someone yelled. I couldn't move. The kid's head lay half in the fluorescent spill from the store and half in shadow. Blood spread under his hair, thinning in the rain. I looked back at the man in the hat. "That wasn't me," I said. "I barely touched him," he said. "Gravity did most of the work. You're the one who dragged me into a crowd." He glanced up at the canopy. "You did pick a nice cage, though," he said. "Bright, clean, smells like fuel and coffee." A siren wailed somewhere closer. The man in the hat listened. "You'll have more of them soon," he said. "More little lights, more noise." He sounded bored. "What happens if they flood this place with light?" I asked. "Trucks, flares, all of it." He shrugged. "Then I wait," he said. "Where?" He smiled. "You can't light every alley," he said. "Every stairwell, every inch under every car." He spread his hands. "I have so many rooms." Rain hammered the canopy. Water poured off the edge in sheets, catching the light and turning it into a white curtain. He stepped closer again. The glow hit his chest. Smoke rose from his coat. His mouth tightened, but he kept walking until the light touched his throat. The skin there bubbled. Dark fluid sizzled. He pressed 2 fingers against his own neck, like checking a pulse. "This bit I don't like," he said. "Always been sensitive here." "Good," I said. "You think it means you found something," he said. "A trick, a way out." He looked me up and down. "You haven't." "Step in," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "What?" "All the way," I said, "if you're so sure." He laughed. "There it is," he said. "The little hard edge. If you have nothing to hide, you won't mind." He rocked back, just enough to ease the burn. "I'm not walking into your son," he said. "Coward," I said. The words slipped out. His smile flattened. "What did you say?" "You heard me," I said. Sirens turned the corner. Blue and red flashed against the wet concrete. Each pulse of light made him flinch. "I crawled up that stairwell with you once," I said. "You remember? You were so proud of how fast you could climb, but you still backed off when the sun came. You still had to stop." He stared. "You stand in doorways and basements and under vans," I said. You grab ankles and throats, but you never step all the way in. You never let us see you. You're scared. Something cold moved in his eyes. You think I'm afraid of you? He asked. Not me, I said. This. I rapped my knuckles on the metal column. Light. The first squad car screeched into the lot, headlights swinging. They hit him full on. He jerked like he'd been shot again. The side of his face bubbled and cracked. For a second I saw something under the skin. Not bone. Just more dark. He snarled. It was the first time I'd heard him sound ugly. Doors flew open. Hands where we can see them, someone shouted. His hands were already up, fingers spread, trying to block the glare. A second car pulled in from the other side, its beams crossing the first. He staggered. Black smoke poured off his coat. He stepped back into the rain curtain. Drops hit his hat and hissed. He looked smaller, thinner. Our eyes met. I saw pure hatred. Not for me, for the light, for the headlights and the flash bars and the bright jackets. You're wasting me on this, he said quietly. On you. Then he was gone. He didn't vanish. He stepped sideways, out of the beams, into the dark wedge between the rear of the squad car and the low wall. 1 second he was in front of me, smoking in the light. The next, he was a longer, thinner shadow sliding along the wall, under the car, into the nearest storm drain. The grate rattled once, then nothing. The cops rushed in, guns drawn. They saw blood, the kid on the ground with his head wrong, the driver by the van, leg twisted, a paramedic already shaking his head. They saw a lot. They didn't see him. I did. Not with my eyes. In the way the darkness under the cars felt heavier. In the way the rainwater in the gutter spun a little too fast, sucked down like something thirsty was waiting. He was just changing rooms. They questioned me at the station, and later in a small room with a camera in the corner. Same script as before. What happened? What did you see? How many attackers? Did he have a weapon? He had hands, I said. The detective wrote that down. And a hat, I added. He looked up. A hat, he said. Yes. Can you be more specific? It had a brim, I said. Not a cap, not a beanie. Old-fashioned. That's all I've got. He sighed. Look, he said. People are dead. Your girlfriend is dead. I'm not trying to give you a hard time, but I need something I can use. Write it down, I said. Man in hat. Arms too long. Kills in basements and stairwells and under vans. Doesn't like bright light. Tape it all over town. It won't help. He stared at me for a long time. Did you hit your head? He asked. Yes, I said. But that's not why I'm saying this. He rubbed his eyes. Eventually they let me go. They had bodies and statements and no one they could draw. You can guess the rest. I moved. New city. New building. New therapist. New rules. No basements. No ground floors. No long blind hallways. I live on the 3rd floor now. The stairwell has windows on every landing. The laundry room is on the main floor, next to the lobby, with glass looking right out onto the street. The landlord thinks I really love natural light. I don't correct him. I work from home. My boss thinks I like flexibility. I don't correct her either. I read the news more than I should. Not just the obvious stories. Not only the parking garages and the abandoned malls. Little ones. Man found dead at bottom of stairs, alcohol suspected. Worker falls down service shaft. Child slips in unlit hallway, tragic accident. If you line them up in your head, the pattern shows. It's always the same kind of place, where the light doesn't quite reach, where someone said, "It's fine, I'll be quick." Where somebody like me walked through once and thought, "This feels wrong," and kept going anyway. Call it paranoia if you want. It is. It's also why I'm still breathing. That, and his patience. He isn't done with me. He doesn't have to say it out loud anymore. I hear it in the humming pipes in the wall, in the way the space under my bed seems a shade too dark until I shine a light under there. Sometimes I think I see the brim of his hat behind my coats when I open the wardrobe too fast. Sometimes, when I kill the bathroom light and step into the hall, the sensor waits half a second too long. In that half second, I feel warmth at my cheek, like someone is leaning close. Then the light comes on. The hall is empty. So far. I don't have a clever lesson. Just this: don't trust the dark. Don't trust the corner your bulb doesn't reach. Don't trust the hallway when the sensor is slow. Don't trust the stairwell just because you've walked it 100 times without falling. Turn the light on. If there isn't a switch, bring your own. If you can't, ask yourself how badly you really need to go down there. Sometimes it will be worth it. A child crying. A dog stuck. Someone calling your name. Sometimes it'll just be laundry. A breaker box. Nothing at all. He loves those. Every trip for nothing teaches you the dark is empty, that you were silly to worry. That's when he catches you. When you trust it. He doesn't have to do anything fancy. He just waits for the night you're tired and think, "I know this place. It's fine." The night you don't grab the flashlight. The night you leave your phone in the other room. The night you tell someone, "I'll just be a second." And you don't really look at them before you go. I don't know when that night is for me. Maybe it's soon. Maybe I have years of bad sleep and bright lamps left. Maybe he's busy right now in someone else's stairwell, long arms folded, hat tipped down, humming while he waits for them to make the same mistake I did. All I know is this: he isn't stuck in that old frame. He isn't stuck in my old town. He isn't stuck in the stories you see on the news. He's everywhere the light stops, under every parked car, at the bend of every unlit path, at the bottom of every staircase where nobody bothered to change the bulb. He's in your basement, your parking garage, your storage unit with the broken light the manager keeps promising to fix. He'll wait as long as he has to. He waited for me. He'll wait for you. And when you finally hear that warm voice in the black say, "Easy there, friend," you'll think for a second that it's somebody you know. You'll turn. You'll take a step. You might even smile, because it's a kind tone, and it's a relief not to be alone. By the time your brain catches up, His hands will already be on you, on your shoulder, on your face, around your chest, feeling your heart kicking against your ribs like a trapped animal. If you're lucky, it'll be quick. If you're not, he'll be in the mood to talk. He'll tell you it isn't personal, that you were just the one in his room when the lights went out. If he remembers me, he might even mention my name. I had one once who tried very hard, he might say. He stood on a wall at dawn. He hid under a canopy. He called me a coward. I've been looking forward to coming back for him. I'm writing this so when that happens, if it happens, you'll know I tried to warn you. Not because you can stop him. You can't. But maybe, in that thin slice of time between the words and the hands, you'll understand it was never just you in the dark. It was all of us. And him. Always him. Waiting just past the light. I still sleep with a lamp on. People still laugh at how many flashlights I own. They still call me paranoid. Maybe they're right. But when the power flickers, when the bulb pops, when the hallway fills up with that heavy black that feels like a hand over your eyes, I know one thing they don't. He's there. He remembers me. He remembers Leah. He remembers Jamie and Mark and Tessa and everyone else who ever walked into his rooms and didn't walk out. And one night, when I'm too tired or too slow, I'll feel a weight on the end of my bed and hear that voice say, "There you are." I won't be brave. I'll beg. I'll cry. I'll claw at his hands. He'll smile the way he always does. "Easy there, friend," he'll say. "We're just finishing what we started." And somewhere, in whatever's left of me, a small part will be relieved. Because at least then, I won't have to be scared of the dark anymore. I'll just be part of it.